There comes a moment in real life when you realize the walls you've built to protect yourself have also become your prison. You wear strength like armor, and you smile so the world doesn't see the cracks. But deep down, you know something's missing. That missing piece is not more perfection. It's permission. Permission to be human. Permission to feel. Permission to be seen. Vulnerability isn't weakness. It's the birthplace of courage. Every time you stand in your truth, trembling, unsure, and afraid, you are teaching the world what real strength looks like. We live in a culture that celebrates confidence but hides compassion. We applaud success but whisper shame when someone falls. And yet, the most powerful people I've ever met were not the ones who never broke. They were the ones who broke open and chose to rise anyway. There is nothing more beautiful than a person who has fallen, faced their fear, and said, I will not let this pain define me. I will let it refine me. See, courage isn't loud. Sometimes it's the quiet voice at the end of the day that says, I'll try again tomorrow. The truth is, we are all just walking each other home. Through fear, through failure, through joy. And if you can stand in your story, own it with grace, and still choose love, then, my friend, you have already won. So today, I want to leave you with this: be brave enough to be seen, be soft enough to care, and be strong enough to keep showing up, even when your heart is shaking, because that's where the magic happens. Not in perfection, but in presence. And you live that truth. You don't just change your lifey, you give everyone around you permission to do the same. Vulnerability is courage. It is not a weakness to show your emotions, your fears, or your truth. It is an act of extraordinary bravery in a world that constantly tells you to hide behind masks. We are taught from childhood that strength means never breaking down, that it means holding everything together no matter what happens, that showing pain is a sign of failure. But the truth is far from that illusion. The people who have the courage to be vulnerable, to say, I'm not okay when the world expects them to smile, those are the ones who carry the real strength inside them. Vulnerability means stepping into the unknown without any guarantees. It means walking into the storm knowing you might be hurt, but still choosing to go forward because something inside you believes that your truth is worth it. It is the courage to love even when your heart has been broken, the courage to try again after falling, the courage to speak even when your voice trembles. Most people mistake vulnerability for weakness because they think if you open yourself up, you can be judged, rejected, or misunderstood. And yes, that can happen, but it is only through vulnerability that true connection is ever possible. Think about it. When was the last time you felt deeply moved by someone's perfect image, their flawless success, their untouchable confidence? Never. What moves us, what touches our souls, is someone's willingness to be real. The tears that escape when they talk about loss, the honesty that shows when they admit fear, the laughter that bursts out when they finally let go of trying to be perfect. That's what makes us human. That's what binds us together. Vulnerability allows us to see each other not as competitors or strangers, but as fellow travelers trying to make sense of life. Courage lives in those moments when you choose to show your true self, even though you know you might not be accepted. It lives in that mother who admits she is exhausted but keeps loving her children. It lives in the man who dares to ask for help instead of pretending he has it all together. It lives in the person who dreams again after disappointment. Vulnerability takes courage because it asks us to surrender control. And control, for most of us, feels like safety. But what we don't realize is that control often closes the door to growth, love, and authenticity. When we hide our feelings, we protect ourselves from pain, but we also block out joy. When we guard our hearts too tightly, nothing can hurt us, but nothing can heal us either. The real heroes of life are not those who never fall, but those who have fallen deeply and still rise with softness in their hearts. Vulnerability is not about overexposing yourself to the world. It's about having the strength to be honest where it matters. It's about saying, here I am, this is me, imperfect and real, but still worthy of love. That simple act of honesty can change lives because it reminds others that they don't have to be perfect to be accepted. It reminds them that being human is enough. So if you ever feel like hiding your feelings, remember this: vulnerability is not the opposite of strength. It is the foundation of it. Every great act of love, art, connection, or healing begins with the courage to be vulnerable. When you choose to open up instead of shutting down, when you choose to love instead of fear, you are not being weak. You are being brave, because vulnerability at its core is the purest form of courage a human being can ever show. Perfection is a prison. It is the invisible cage that keeps you chasing an illusion that does not exist. From the moment we are old enough to understand the world, we are taught to aim for flawless results, perfect appearances, and mistake-free lives. We grow up believing that if we could just do everything right, if we could say the right things, look the right way, and please everyone around us, then we would finally feel worthy. But that belief is a trap. Perfection is a moving target that can never be reached. The more you chase it, the further it runs away. And in that endless pursuit, you lose the most important thing of all, your peace. When you live your life trying to be perfect, you stop living for yourself. You start performing for approval, for validation, for acceptance. You hide your flaws because you think they make you unlovable, and in doing so, you start hiding your true self. The truth is, perfection does not connect people. Imperfection does. Nobody feels close to someone who seems to have it all together all the time. We feel connected to those who stumble, those who try again after falling, those who dare to be seen exactly as they are. The cracks in our hearts are not signs of weakness. They are proof that we have lived, that we have loved, that we have cared deeply enough to be hurt. Perfection whispers lies that sound like truth. It says, if you just do more, try harder, work longer, you will finally be enough. But you were already enough the moment you were born. You were never meant to be perfect. You were meant to be real. Real people make mistakes. They cry, they fail, they start over. Real people grow through the mess, not by avoiding it. When you stop running from imperfection, something powerful happens. You begin to breathe again. You begin to laugh at yourself, to forgive yourself, to love yourself even when you fall short. That is the beginning of freedom. Freedom comes when you stop pretending that your life has to look like someone else's highlight reel. It comes when you let go of comparison and step into authenticity. You no longer have to prove anything to anyone because you finally understand that your worth is not tied to your achievements. The world does not need more perfect people. It needs more honest ones, people who are brave enough to say, I'm still learning, I'm still growing, and that's okay. The pressure to be perfect is exhausting and it drains the joy out of life. But when you give yourself permission to be imperfect, you allow space for growth, creativity, and peace. Imperfection is not your enemy, it is your teacher. Every mistake carries a message. Every failure offers wisdom. When something falls apart, it often means something better is waiting to be built. The cracks in your story let the light come through, and that light becomes your strength. The most inspiring people in the world are not those who never failed, but those who turned their failures into fuel. They embraced the lessons hidden in disappointment and turned them into courage. So when you feel the pressure to be perfect, pause and remember that perfection is not the goal, growth is. You do not need to have all the answers. You do not need to always smile. You do not need to always win. You just need to show up, do your best, and keep your heart open. The beauty of being human lies in your imperfections, in your ability to fall and rise again, to learn, to love, and to begin anew. When you let go of perfection, you reclaim your freedom, your authenticity, and your joy. That is when you truly start living. Pain can refine you. It can shape you in ways comfort never could. Pain is not the enemy. It is the silent teacher that enters your life uninvited but leaves behind the deepest lessons. Every person who has ever grown, evolved, or transformed has done so through moments of discomfort. We like to believe that growth comes from joy, from success, from the easy chapters of life, but that is rarely true. Growth comes from the breaking, from the moments that test your patience, your hope, and your faith. Pain burns away the layers of pride, fear, and illusion until only truth remains. It strips you down to what is real, to what truly matters, and to who you really are when there is nothing left to hide behind. Most people run from pain. They numb it, avoid it, deny it, or bury it deep. They believe that to feel pain is to be too weak. But pain does not make you weak. It reveals your strength. It shows you how much you can endure and still keep standing. It teaches you that survival is not about never falling apart, but about learning how to gather the broken pieces and rebuild yourself stronger than before. The truth is, every scar you carry is not just a reminder of what hurt you, but a symbol of what you overcame. Pain does not destroy you unless you let it define you. When you face it with courage, it refines you. It polishes your soul like fire refines gold. There are moments when pain feels unbearable, when the nights seem endless and the days feel heavy. You question why it had to happen, why it had to hurt so much, why the people you trusted failed you, or why life suddenly changed without warning. But somewhere in that silence, in the space between what was and what will be, something inside you begins to shift. You begin to see that every loss carries within it the seed of renewal. The very things that broke you can also build you if you choose to let them. You learn resilience not from comfort, but from chaos. You learn compassion not from perfection, but from pain. When you go through deep pain, you gain a kind of wisdom that no book or teacher could ever give you. You begin to understand people's hearts better. You start to see behind their smiles. You learn to listen without judgment because you know what it feels like to hurt. Pain gives birth to empathy, and empathy gives birth to love. The ones who have suffered the most often become the most gentle because they know what it costs to heal. Pain humbles you, it quiets your ego, and it opens your eyes to the beauty of small things. You may not see it now, but every challenge, every heartbreak, every failure has a purpose. Pain shapes your character, it builds endurance, and it purifies your perspective. It forces you to dig deep to find meaning in what feels meaningless and to discover strength you didn't know existed. And one day, when you look back, you realize that her moments hurt the most were the very moments that pushed you toward your higher self. So when pain comes, do not resist it, do not drown in it, but allow it to teach you. Let it soften your heart without hardening your spirit. Let it refine you until your soul glows with understanding. Pain may change your path, but it will also awaken your purpose. Is that it is not there to break you, it is there to rebuild you into the person you were always meant to be. Courage is quiet. It is not always loud, not always visible, and not always celebrated. We often imagine courage as something dramatic, like standing on a stage leading a movement, or facing danger with fearless confidence. But real courage is much simpler, much softer, and much more personal. It is found in the ordinary moments, in the quiet choices we make when no one is watching. It is in the mother who gets up every day despite her exhaustion, in the man who faces his anxiety but still goes to work, and the person who forgives someone who never said sorry. Courage lives in these small, invisible acts of persistence. It does not always roar, sometimes it whispers. Sometimes courage is the soft voice that says, I will try again tomorrow. The world teaches us to equate courage with boldness, with loud victories, with achievements that others can see. But the truth is, the bravest battles are fought in silence. The struggle to keep believing when everything around you falls apart, the decision to be kind in a world that rewards cruelty, the choice to stay open-hearted after being hurt, these are all forms of quiet courage. It takes immense strength to show up in life without any guarantees, to keep moving forward when your heart is heavy and your path is unclear. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is the decision to act despite it. Sometimes courage is simply facing yourself. It is sitting in your own truth, confronting your flaws, and choosing to grow. It is easier to run from your pain, to distract yourself with noise, to blame others for your unhappiness. But courage asks you to pause, to sit with your discomfort, and to say, I will face this. That kind of bravery does not make headlines, but it changes lives. It changes you from within. It builds a foundation of strength that no one can take away. Quiet courage is also about patience. It is about waiting when you want to give up, holding faith when everything feels uncertain, trusting that the storm will pass even when the sky stays dark. It is the courage to endure, to stay grounded when everything around you is shaking. People often think courage means never feeling afraid, but the truth is courage and fear often walk hand in hand. You can be terrified and brave at the same time. In fact, most acts of real courage happen in the presence of fear, not in its absence. Courage does not always change your circumstances immediately, but it always changes you. It builds character, resilience, and depth. It turns pain into wisdom and uncertainty into strength. Every time you face something you thought you couldn't handle and survive it, your courage grows a little stronger. And over time, those small acts of bravery create a life built on quiet strength and deep authenticity. There are moments when courage simply means staying soft in a hard world, keeping your heart open even after betrayal, believing in love even after loss, hoping again even after disappointment. That is the kind of courage that transforms people. It does not shout for attention. It simply exists steady and true. Quiet courage is the anchor that keeps you from drifting away when life becomes overwhelming. So remember, courage doesn't have to be loud to be powerful. It doesn't have to public to be meaningful. Sometimes courage is taking one small step when you don't know what comes next. Sometimes it's holding on when you feel like letting go. Sometimes it's simply showing up. That's the kind of courage that builds strength, heals hearts, and quietly changes the world. Authenticity inspires connection. It is the invisible bridge that links one heart to another. In a world filled with filters, masks, and rehearsed smiles, authenticity is the rarest and most beautiful thing a person can offer. It means showing up as you truly are, not as who you think people want you to be. It means speaking your truth even when your voice shakes, and standing in your values even when it costs you approval. Authenticity is not about perfection. It is about honesty. It is about owning your story, your past, your scars, and your dreams without shame. When you live authentically, you invite others to do the same. Your courage to be real gives others permission to drop their own masks and breathe freely. People are hungry for realness. They are tired of pretending, tired of comparing themselves to lives that look perfect on screens but feel empty in reality. We connect not through perfection, but through shared humanity. When someone speaks honestly about their struggles, their fears, or their healing, we don't see them as weak. We see them as human. We see ourselves in them. That moment of recognition, that silent understanding that says, me too, is what creates true connection. Authenticity breaks the illusion that we are alone in our pain, our confusion, or our imperfection. It reminds us that we are all walking through this life trying to find meaning and belonging. Authenticity also requires courage. It means risking rejection, misunderstanding, and even criticism. But the alternative, living a life that isn't true to you, is far more painful. When you hide who you are, when you silence your truth to please others, you may gain approval, but you lose connection. People may like the version of you that you present, but you will always feel unseen. True belonging can never exist without authenticity, because belonging means being accepted for who you really are, not who you pretend to be. The more authentic you are, the more you attract people who resonate with your truth. And those are the relationships that last, because they are built on honesty, not performance. Being authentic does not mean sharing everything with everyone. It means being aligned. Your words, your actions, and your heart all moving in the same direction. It means speaking with integrity, living with intention, and showing kindness even when it's hard. Authentic people are not perfect, but they are consistent. They are grounded, real, and deeply connected to themselves. They know that pretending to be perfect is exhausting, but being real is freeing. When you live authentically, your life becomes a reflection of truth, not of expectation. You stop chasing approval and start choosing peace. You to care less about being impressive and more about being genuine. People will feel it. They may not always agree with you, but they will trust you, because honesty has a power that pretense never will. Authenticity creates space for vulnerability, and vulnerability creates space for love. When you are brave enough to show your true self, you attract others who do the same, and together you build a connection that goes far beyond surfaces level appearances. In the end, authenticity is the foundation of every meaningful relationship with others and with yourself. It allows you to live without constant fear of being exposed, because there is nothing left to hide. It gives you the freedom to say, this is who I am, and to know that is enough. The most beautiful souls are those who live unapologetically as themselves, who speak with honesty, love deeply, and stand firm in their truth. They remind us that authenticity is not just a way of being, it is a way of healing the world, one real connection at a time. Love is power. It is not weakness. It is not surrender. And it is not something that makes you small. Real love, the kind that transforms lives, is the most powerful force in existence. It takes strength to love in a world that often rewards selfishness and fear. Love is not just a feeling. It is a decision, a daily choice to be kind when it's easier to be cold, to forgive when you could hold a grudge, to see good in others even when they cannot see it in themselves. Love demands courage because it asks you to open your heart knowing it might be broken. But the truth is, love that risks nothing changes nothing. It is love that teaches us what strength truly means. When you choose love over fear, you are choosing growth over stagnation. Fear isolates you, it builds walls, and makes you believe that you must protect yourself from being hurt. Love breaks those walls down and reminds you that life is meant to be lived with an open heart. Fear says, what if I get hurt? Love says, what if this moment heals me? Fear closes doors, but love opens them. Fear makes you cautious, but love makes you brave. Every great act of compassion, forgiveness, and kindness that has ever changed the world began with love. It is not the loudest emotion, but it is the most enduring one. Love has the power to heal what logic cannot. It reaches places inside the human heart that no amount of success, money, or recognition could ever touch. It turns pain into understanding and resentment into peace. When you choose love, even in moments of anger or disappointment, you transform the energy around you. Love is not blind. It sees everything clearly, but still chooses grace. It sees the flaws, the mistakes, the imperfections, and still says, you are worthy. That is what makes it divine. To love is to be brave enough to stay soft in a hard world. It is to choose empathy when bitterness seems justified. It is to keep believing in humanity even after betrayal. Many people mistake love for weakness because it requires openness, but in truth, it requires the greatest strength of all. It takes strength to hold compassion when the world world gives you reasons to close your heart. It takes strength to see the humanity in those who have hurt you, to forgive when the memory of pain still lingers, and to love yourself when your reflection reminds you of your mistakes. Love demands that you rise above ego, above pride, and above fear. Love is power because it changes everything it touches. It turns enemies into friends, pain into wisdom, and endings into new beginnings. It reminds you that you are connected to something greater than yourself. When you live with love as your guide, you stop seeing others as threats. Threats start seeing them as reflections of your own humanity. You begin to realize that every person you meet is fighting their own battle, carrying their own scars, and longing for the same sense of peace that you are. Love allows you to move through the world with gentleness, and gentleness is strength under control. Choosing love does not mean letting others walk over you. It means knowing your worth and still treating others with kindness. It means speaking the truth with compassion and setting boundaries with respect. Love is not about pleasing everyone. It is about honoring your heart and living with integrity. It is the courage to care without losing yourself. Love gives life meaning. It reminds you why you're here: to connect, to give, to grow, and to heal. In the end, love is not what makes you weak. It is what makes you whole. It is not what breaks you. It is what puts you back together. Love is power because it is the essence of everything that lasts, everything that matters, and everything that makes life worth living. Presence over performance, it is one of the deepest truths we can learn in a world obsessed with appearance. We are taught from a young age to perform, to prove, to impress, to achieve. We chase recognition like it's oxygen, believing that our worth depends on how others see us. But the more we perform, the more disconnected we become from who we truly are. Presence, on the other hand, is the art of being fully here in this moment without needing to prove anything, without wearing a mask. Presence is not about doing more. It is about being more, being aware, being real, being grounded. When you are present, you stop performing for approval and start living from authenticity. Performance comes from fear from the belief that you are not enough as you are. It makes you overthink every word, every step, every mistake, because you are always waiting for judgment. But presence comes from love, from the quiet confidence that you belong here, that your existence itself is enough. Presence allows you to connect with others, not through perfection, but through truth. When you are truly present, people feel seen, heard, and valued. You don't have to impress anyone because your calm, your focus, and your authenticity speak louder than any performance ever could. When you live for performance, your energy is scattered. You are always in the future, worrying about what people will think, or stuck in the past, regretting what they already did. Presence anchors you in the now. It teaches you that this moment, right here, right now, is the only place life truly happens. That when you are present, you notice the small things, the tone of someone's voice, the way the sunlight hits the wall, the way your heart beats when you feel grateful. These details are the texture of life, and they often go unseen when you are too busy performing. Being present means allowing yourself to slow down. It means not rushing to the next thing just to fill the silence. It means listening with intention, not to respond, but to understand. Presence is powerful because it brings peace to chaos. It reminds you that you do not need to chase moments to make life meaningful. You just need to show up for the moments you already have. When you are fully here, everything becomes richer. Your relationships, your work, your creativity, even your pain. Performance is exhausting because it keeps you running after validation that never lasts. Presence, on the other hand, restores your energy because it connects you to your true source. When you stop performing, you start to breathe it differently. You begin to trust that being yourself is enough. You no longer fear silence or imperfection because you are no longer trying to prove your worth. You are simply living it. The people who carry the most peace are not the ones who have done the most, but the ones who have learned to just be. Presence is also an act of love. When you give someone your full attention without distractions, without pretense, you are saying you matter, but you are giving them a gift that no performance can replace. The same is true for yourself. When you are present with your own feelings, your own thoughts, and your own breath, you begin to heal. You stop judging yourself for where you should be and start appreciating where you are. So let go of performance. Let go of the constant need to prove. Step into the moment that is already here, because in presence, you will find peace, clarity, and purpose. You will realize that life was never asking you to perform. It was asking you to be awake, to be alive, and to be real. Presence over performance is not a choice. It is freedom, the freedom to live, to love, and to simply be. In the end, everything comes back to one simple truth. Life is not about perfection, performance, or pretending to be strong all the time. It is about being real, being human, and being present. Vulnerability is courage, pain refines you, and love gives you the power to rise again. Yeah. The quiet moments of bravery, the honest confessions, the imperfect stories, these are what connect us, these are what heal us. We spend so much of our lives trying to be more, do more, prove more, when all along the greatest strength was already within us. The strength to be ourselves. When you let go of the need to impress and start living from the heart, you begin to see that every crack, every scar, every failure was not the end, but the beginning of something truer. You discover that courage does not always roar. Sometimes it whispers. You learn that authenticity is not just a virtue, it is freedom. And you realize that love, in its purest form, is the only power that never fades. So stand tall in your truth, embrace your imperfections, and choose presence over performance. Because when you live with openness, compassion, and courage, you don't just change your life, you light the way for others to do the same.